Hey there, welcome to our deep dive. Today it's all about Louise Hay and her book, Heal Your Body. You actually mentioned in your notes that you're looking for ways to manage stress, right?
Yeah, definitely. Stress is something that I think we can all relate to these days.
For sure. So this book is really interesting because Hay's main idea is that our thoughts can actually manifest in our physical reality, which I know that might sound a little far out there.
Yeah, it can definitely sound a bit woo-woo at first.
Right, but stick with us. We're going to break it down.
Yeah, we'll unpack it.
Exactly. So we're going to break down how Hay came to these conclusions and how we can actually use this information in practical ways.
And it's not just theory. Hay's own experience with cancer really shaped her whole approach.
Right. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer, I think it was back in the 70s.
Yeah, in the 70s.
Yeah.
And she made the very bold decision to actually reject conventional treatment.
Oh, wow.
And focus on self-healing.
Wow. So at that time, that was a pretty radical idea.
Oh, incredibly radical, especially back then. But her reasoning was that surgery alone wouldn't really address the root cause.
Right.
She believed that there were underlying mental and emotional patterns that contributed to her illness.
It's like looking at the whole picture, not just the symptoms.
Exactly. It's about taking a more holistic view. So it's not about blaming yourself for getting sick, but more about understanding those deeper patterns and how they might be impacting our health.
That makes a lot of sense. So before we dive into the specifics, I think we should talk about one of Hay's central concepts, this idea of the power of the present moment.
Oh, absolutely. That's key to her whole approach.
She basically says that, dwelling on the past doesn't really help. It's about making conscious choices now to shape our future. Which reminds me a lot of mindfulness, actually.
It totally aligns with mindfulness.
Yeah.
And even cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which is a really popular therapeutic approach these days.
Right. So this isn't just some fluffy new age idea.
Yeah.
There's actual scientific backing to some of these concepts.
Yeah, it's grounded in some real solid principles. Okay, so are we ready to get into this whole idea of mental equivalence?
Ooh, yes. This is where it starts to get really juicy.
This is the heart of Hay's work.
Okay, tell me everything.
Okay, so basically, Hay suggests that specific negative thought patterns can actually be linked to specific physical ailments.
Like a thought-body dictionary.
Exactly. It's like a decoder ring for your health.
I'm already fascinated. Okay, so what kind of examples are we talking about?
Well, let's take something simple, like headaches. Hay often links headaches to self-criticism. Are you someone who tends to be hard on yourself?
Oh, 100% guilty as charged.
There you go. So the idea is that by becoming aware of these connections, we can start to address the root cause of our discomfort.
I see. It's about listening to what our body is trying to tell us.
Exactly. It's like our body is sending us these little messages, and if we can decipher them, we can start to heal ourselves.
That's so cool. Okay, so let's say I've identified a pattern. I know what the message is. What do I actually do about it?
All right. Well, that's where Hay's three-step process comes in. First, you have to identify the mental cause, which we just did with the headaches and self-criticism.
Okay, so awareness is the first step.
Awareness is key. Then you have to be willing to release that old, unhelpful pattern. You have to make a conscious choice to shift your thinking.
Okay, willingness, got it. But how do I actually make that change stick? Old habits die hard.
That's where the positive affirmations come in. Hay suggests replacing that old negative thought pattern with a new positive one.
So instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, I would try thinking something like, I am capable and worthy.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing beliefs that support your well-being.
Wow. Okay, it's like retraining your brain, essentially.
It is. It's like creating new neural pathways.
That's incredible. So we've talked about specific ailments, but I know Hay takes this idea even further. She basically simplifies all dis-ease down to two core emotions.
You got it. Fear or anger. She believes that those two emotions are at the root of all disease.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
Yeah.
But I kind of see how it could make sense. Fear can manifest as anxiety, insecurity, all those things. And anger can obviously lead to stress, tension.
Exactly. And all of those things can impact our physical health. So while it might seem overly simplified, it's actually a really accessible framework. It means everyone can relate to these core emotions and start to understand how they might be playing out in their own lives.
That's a good point. It makes it less about diagnosing a specific illness and more about understanding the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about looking at the whole emotional landscape. And speaking of the bigger picture, what's really interesting? This idea of simplifying things down to fear and anger actually connects to another one of Hay's really cool concepts, the yes universe.
Okay, now you've got me really intrigued. What's the yes universe all about?
Hold that thought. We're going to dive into that next.
Ooh, cliffhanger. Okay, you've got me on the edge of my seat. What's this yes universe all about? It sounds pretty optimistic.
It is. Basically, Hay is saying that the universe is always affirming our beliefs, like it's like a mirror, reflecting back whatever we put out there.
So if I'm like constantly thinking negative thoughts, the universe is going to be like, yep, you got it.
Pretty much. And those beliefs can then manifest in our lives, sometimes in ways we don't even realize.
So it's not enough to just think positive thoughts every once in a while.
Right. It's about cultivating a more consistent, positive mindset, because the flip side is also true. When you focus on positive, life-affirming beliefs, the universe will reflect that back to you too.
Okay, so it's like what you focus on expands. I've heard that before.
Exactly. And this idea of the yes universe, it really ties in beautifully with Hay's focus on self-love.
Because when you love yourself, you naturally project more positive energy.
Yes. You radiate positivity outwards, and that's what the universe picks up on.
Okay, I'm with you. But if everything really boils down to fear or anger, how do we even begin to, unpack those deeper layers? It feels a little overwhelming.
It can be, for sure. But Hay provides some really practical tools. Remember those affirmations we were talking about?
Oh, right, yeah.
They can be super helpful for shifting those deeper patterns. Let's go back to your headaches for a second. Remember how we connected that to self-criticism?
Yep, definitely a pattern for me.
Instead of getting stuck in that negative loop, you can consciously choose a different belief, one that supports your well-being. Like, I'm kind to myself, or I am worthy of love and respect.
So it's not just about repeating any old positive phrase. It's about choosing ones that really resonate with you.
Exactly. And repeating those affirmations regularly, really feeling them in your heart. It's like reprogramming your mind.
I love that analogy. It's like we have the power to rewrite our own internal code.
We absolutely do. It's super empowering. But remember, it's a process. It takes time and consistency. Think of it like learning a new language. You're not going to be fluent overnight.
Right. It takes practice.
Exactly. Okay, so I know you're really interested in managing stress. Hay actually sees stress as a resistance to the present moment. It's about clinging to worries about the future or regrets from the past.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So by being more present, we can actually reduce our stress levels.
You got it. And things like mindfulness and meditation can be super helpful for cultivating that sense of presence. They help us kind of let go of all that mental chatter and just be in the moment.
It's about quieting the mind.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about headaches, but are there any other examples of these mental equivalents that you'd like to explore? Things that might resonate with our listeners?
Yeah, actually, stomach issues are something I've always struggled with. What does Hay say about those?
Interesting. Well, she often connects digestive problems to feeling like you can't digest new information or experiences.
Oh, wow. So if you're constantly bombarded with information or you're going through a period of major change, that could manifest as indigestion or stomach aches.
Exactly. It's like your body is saying, whoa, slow down. I need a minute to process all of this.
That's so true. I'm definitely a chronic overthinker, and I have a very sensitive stomach.
See, there could be a connection there. What about something like back pain? Do you know anyone who deals with that?
Oh, yeah. Back pain is so common.
Hay sees the back as representing support. So if you're feeling unsupported or burdened in some area of your life, it could manifest as back pain.
Interesting. So it could be financial stress or relationship problems or even just feeling overwhelmed with responsibility.
Exactly. She actually breaks it down even further. Different areas of the spine might be linked to specific emotional patterns. Lower back pain could relate to financial worries, while upper back pain might be connected to holding on to guilt or past hurts.
It's like our spine is literally carrying the weight of our emotional baggage. It's so powerful.
It really is. But it's important to remember these connections aren't always literal. It's not like if you have back pain, you must be financially insecure. It's more about using these insights as a starting point for self-reflection.
It's about asking yourself, could this be true for me?
Right. It's about becoming a detective of your own well-being. And, while we're exploring all these fascinating ideas from Hay, it's important to remember that her work isn't meant to replace conventional medicine.
Right. It's not about ditching your doctor and just relying on affirmations.
Exactly. It's about integrating these principles into a holistic approach to health, considering both the physical and the emotional.
It's about empowering yourself to become an active participant in your own healing journey.
Yes. And speaking of empowerment, I'm curious, what's resonating most with you so far? What's really standing out?
I think what's hitting me the hardest is just how powerful our thoughts and beliefs really are. It's kind of mind-blowing to realize how much influence we have over our own reality.
It is, and that's what makes Hay's work so inspiring. It reminds us that we're not just victims of circumstance. We have the power to choose different thoughts, different beliefs, and ultimately create a different experience of life.
So how do we make those changes last?
Yeah.
How do we shift those deep-seated patterns and make those positive changes stick?
The million-dollar question. Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack in the final part of our Louise Hay deep dive.
Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle the big question. How do we make those positive changes last? Like, it's one thing to understand these concepts, but how do we actually put them into practice so they stick?
Right, because it's easy to get all excited about self-healing and affirmations, but then, life happens.
Oh, yeah.
Old habits come back, and we end up right back where we started.
It's so true. So what's the secret? How do we actually make those positive changes a permanent part of our lives?
Well, there's no magic bullet, unfortunately. But Hay does offer some good guidance. Remember that 3-step process we talked about? Identify the mental cause, be willing to release it, and then replace it with a positive affirmation.
Right.
That's the foundation.
Okay, but it's not just about repeating affirmations.
Right. No, definitely not. It's about really integrating those principles into your daily life, making them a part of your routine.
So it's like a mental workout, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It takes effort and consistency, just like building any new habit.
Okay, I like that analogy. So what are some practical things we can do to, strengthen those positive thinking muscles?
Well, Hay talks a lot about starting your day with intention. Instead of, hitting snooze and immediately grabbing your phone, take a few minutes to connect with yourself, maybe do some stretches, some deep breathing, or even just set a simple intention for the day.
So create space for those positive thoughts to, take root.
Exactly. And then throughout the day, pay attention to your thoughts. Notice when you're slipping into that negative self-talk or worrying about things you can't control.
Right.
That's your cue to consciously shift your focus.
Okay, easier said than done sometimes, right?
It can be. That's why it's so helpful to have those affirmations handy, like maybe write them on sticky notes or put them in your phone as reminders.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's like those little nudges throughout the day.
Exactly.
What about those really stubborn patterns, though? Like the ones that have been with us for years, can those really change?
Absolutely they can. But it might take a little more than just affirmations. Hay recommends journaling, visualization, even working with a therapist to help uncover those deeper beliefs.
So it's okay to ask for help.
Oh, absolutely. It's not about doing it all alone. And remember to be kind to yourself.
Right.
If you slip up and fall back into old habits, don't beat yourself up. Just gently guide yourself back to those positive beliefs.
It's like being your own best friend, offering yourself that same compassion you would give to someone else.
You got it. And speaking of love, let's circle back to Hay's emphasis on self-love. Remember that yes, universe concept.
Oh, yeah, the universe is a mirror.
Well, when you truly love and accept yourself, you're sending out this powerful message to the universe, inviting more love and positivity into your life.
It's like creating a positive feedback loop. The more you love yourself, the more love you attract.
Exactly. And that self-love can be a powerful antidote to all that fear and anger that Hay talks about. When you feel good about yourself, you're less likely to get caught up in those negative thought patterns.
This is all making so much sense. It's like all the pieces are fitting together.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, I have one more question. We've been talking about Hay's work in the context of physical health. But can these principles be applied to other areas of life too?
Absolutely. Hay believed these principles were universal. You can apply them to your relationships, your career, your finances, really any area where you're looking for positive change.
So, if I'm feeling stuck in my career, I could use these same techniques to shift my beliefs and maybe attract new opportunities.
Exactly. Instead of dwelling on those feelings of frustration or hopelessness, you can start affirming something like, I am worthy of a fulfilling and rewarding career, or I am capable of achieving my goals.
And then take action, obviously.
Yes, action is key. But those positive beliefs can really fuel that action and help you create the reality you want.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools to work with.
Me too.
So, to wrap things up, let's leave our listeners with a little challenge. What if, for just 1 week, you picked one area of your life where you're looking for positive change, and you consciously applied these principles? Choose one specific challenge, identify that underlying mental pattern, and then craft an affirmation that really resonates with you. Commit to repeating it daily, really feeling its truth, and pay attention to what happens. Notice any shifts in your thoughts, your feelings, even your physical sensations. It could be a really powerful experiment.
It could be the start of something amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. We hope you feel inspired to explore the incredible power of your mind to heal and transform your life.
And remember, the journey starts with self-love.
Until next time, keep diving deep.